good evening. You're all very welcome along to a brand new webinar series from Community Finance Ireland, supporting GAA clubs on and off the pitch. Just to let everyone know that this event is being recorded, and if people are tuning in and you're wondering what's this all about, basically it's a series of virtual conversations with some of the most passionate GAA clubs on this island. And over 5 weeks, we're going to be hearing from those clubs and local heroes about the challenges they are facing, how they're investing in their future through social finance, and about passing the baton on to the next generation of change makers in their communities. So a really exciting and informative series ahead. So just to introduce myself, my name is Aisling O'Reilly. I'm delighted to be hosting the webinar series. I'm a full-time sports reporter with Off the Ball, which involves a mix of presenting live from studio in Dublin and also going out covering games and interviewing players and managers in all sports really, but mainly GAA, rugby and football. Most recently, I would have covered the men's Six Nations, traveling to all of Ireland's games, which was absolutely amazing. I hosted a 6-week series for the Women's Six Nations show as well, and I'm currently covering the GAA Championship and have done now for the last 3 years or so for Off the Ball. Personally, then I would be passionate about sport as a fan and as a player. I play for a Ratoath GAA club in County Meath. I've been involved with my club there for over 20 years, I'd say it is now. It's a massive part of my life, and I've definitely seen the growth from when I started to now, and how the improvement in facilities has had a knock-on effect to the success within the club, which has been absolutely immense. But I do currently live up north in County Down, Drumgath and County Down. So I'm only a few minutes away from the All-Ireland champions Kilcoo. Michael is on the call here, shout out to them. So I'm living up here now about a year, and I haven't transferred up here. I train up here with them. Drumgath for kindly let me become a member and train with them, but also play at home in Meath. So I'm up and down the M1 for trainings and matches, but it just shows what the community is all about in the GAA, being able to join different clubs all over the country really to get involved. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, but that's enough about me. I'll introduce my panelists here this evening. So we have Michael Kane, the PRO from Kilcoo GAA Club. How are you, Michael?
Good, Aisling. How are you?
Good now, thanks for joining. We have Sinead Reel as well, the chairperson of Armagh Ladies GAA County Board. How are you, Sinead?
All good, Aisling, thank you.
Absolutely, and Phelim Sharvin as well, Head of Community Finance NI. How's it going, Phelim?
I'm good, Aisling. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well, Michael, I might come back to you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do in Kilcoo GAC?
Yeah, I'm 39 years old. I've been PRO for Kilcoo now for the last 7 years. I also served as 3 years in recent times as vice chairperson. Prior to that, I played a bit of football as well, from underage right up to senior level, probably over 25 years to the club. So I never really got away from it. As soon as I finished playing, I stood into administration. I really enjoy it, and I'm probably fortunate that we're in such good times, involved with such a great team that's brought All Ireland back to the parish. But there's more to the club than that. Like right down from top to bottom, there's a lot of great work been done, and over recent years, the club has developed something seriously in terms of facilities and stuff as well. So while we're running on the pitch and doing really well that way, it's good to see the success we've had of it in terms of development.
Yeah, a lot of work goes in behind the scenes, and we're definitely going to hear all about that as well. And Sinead, do you want to tell me a little bit about your role within the county board?
Yeah, so I am in my 5th term now as a county chairperson for Armagh, for the Armagh Ladies. Have been involved in ladies Gaelic football probably from the age of about 10. Seemed to force my father to start ladies football in the local club here, and ever since then I have been. I think I went to my first county board meeting when I was about 12. So I've been board PRO when I was about 15, and then I was treasurer and secretary and held all those roles, liaison officer for the county team, and now I've been landed with the big one now this past couple of years. So look, I'm enjoying the role, and ladies football is growing everywhere in every club and every county in the whole of Ireland, which is great to see. So yeah, so I don't think I'm going anywhere for a while. So
that's a lot of county board meetings over the years. I'd say it's a tough job to be at them the whole time, and obviously putting in all the hard work within the county board. So that's brilliant. And we're going to hear a little bit more about it. Phelim Sharvin, then, do you want to tell us a little bit about your role within Community Finance NI?
Yes, Aisling, I'm the head of Community Finance NI. I've been with the organisation for probably around 20 years now. I can't believe I'm saying that, but would have been involved at the very outset of the organisation. It's a charity, and we've helped build that organisation up over the years. got a lot of experience in doing so, worked with a wide range of community-led organisations in childcare, in green energy, and of course in sports, and that includes GAA clubs. And we've had a great interaction with GAA clubs over the years. And for me, myself, it's very fulfilling as I'm a GAA enthusiast myself. I've been a player, a coach, still am a coach, and probably occupied pretty much every position there has been on the local club committee. So yeah, it's been really good to be involved with GAA clubs in my working life and in my own voluntary life.
That's brilliant. So we have a wealth of knowledge on the call. So thanks a million for joining, and thanks to our audience for joining as well. We hope to let the audience participate as much as possible. So please don't be shy and get involved. There is an option just to drop in messages just below in the chat box, and then we're going to filter them out to our participants here as we go. So we'll start off with passing the baton, and what does that mean? So the need to develop and encourage the next generation of members and players within a club to continue to build and sustain it as a valuable community hub. And it's so important in every club that this is what's happening. Michael, the success of Kilcoo as All-Ireland club champions, it's unbelievable to see what you've done when you consider how small of a community Kilcoo is.
Yeah, it's been aimed at us before how small we are, but the one thing there is, everybody in Kilcoo is involved in it. Like, there's very few people and families aren't involved within the GAA club. I think that's a massive thing to have, you know, this great camaraderie among other members. Everybody drives everybody else on. And look, success breeds success too. So we weren't always at the top. It's took a long time to get here, but there's a lot of building blocks that have been put into place in recent times. A lot of good structures are put in place. And it's been hailing them, and as I say, building for the next generation. So we have kept evolving. Like at committee level, a third of our committee are ladies now. There's maybe, I say, half our committee's under 40 years of age. So like, although we have a lot of custodians there that are doing great work and have led it for years, there's people coming behind them ready to take up the baton and lead the club to the future. Like, we haven't stood still in that respect. So it's easy to, when you're going well on the pitch, it's great, but there has to be the work to put in behind the scenes. And look, in terms of developing our facilities, in the last 10 years, what we've done, there's a list of developments, a new community hub, new change rooms. We've even widened the lane there in recent months just to make it easier and safer for access. There's a community play park in our grounds, a walkway around it, so much more. But all them things bring the whole community together. And there's not a night of the week you wouldn't go up to Park Onroa and the place isn't buzzing. So I think that's a big part of it too, involving everyone from old to young. And, you know, everybody gets, like I've said it before, success has definitely helped. There's no point saying that, because there's a lot of clubs as similar size to us who haven't been as successful and they found it harder. But everybody, the majority of people, has put their shoulder to the wheel in recent times, and it's breathtaking when you go up to that pitch at night and see the young ones running about and people from all ages playing away. So it's getting the right leadership in place and building that, and you know, people knowing their role and owning their role and delegating that responsibility out round. And we've got people there, you know, because a lot of people are very good at certain roles. Our development committee, for example, we have a subcommittee that are absolutely excellent at what they do, what they've done. And maybe people in that committee wouldn't have been great footballers in their time, you know. So when you compare to the like of the Johnsons and Conor Lavery and them, they're the guys on the pitch coaching teams now at a younger age. Kirby and Brannigan especially as well. There, him and Conor are 5 boys each, and they're down there coaching their 5 boys on the pitch at underage. So that's a big thing too, that the guys aren't just leading on the playing field, they're leading at the club and bringing the young ones through, which is great. And that's just not just in Gaelic football, we've also ladies there as well, where it's happening, and in Camogie as well.
Yeah, that's massive. Just when you're speaking about the current players actually training the younger teams now. I actually spoke with Caleb Doherty there a few weeks ago, and he told me that Conor Laverty, which is everyone knows Conor Laverty, a player on the Kilcoo team that won the All-Ireland, he actually trained Caleb when he was in school, and then he went on to win an All-Ireland with him. So it's incredible to hear stories like that.
Yeah, Conor's coaching from the age, like even my younger brother's team there, when they won the under 12 county title, Conor was an under 16, and him and another guy were the Kilcoo managers. So like, he always had a passion for coaching, and you know, but it's the work the guys like him put in that makes it, because the young ones look up to that. Like, they see there's a guy that's done it at county level. He's, you know, registered in Crook Park for the club, and they look up to that. And there's more than him. You know, there's a handful of boys, but them leaders on the pitch, they're also leaders of it. And it's not just on the coaching field, the amount of other work they engage with the club like if there was an event on and they needed people to park yards, then boys would a yellow bib on them on the way doing it. That makes an awful difference, because it's easy standing in front of and getting praised for doing work on the pitch and maybe winning stuff, but it's also when there's unseen work to be done that people are fit to put the shoulder to the wheel, and other people look up to that. Like.
And it's very successful at the moment, but did you ever struggle to get numbers to field teams and to fulfill those background roles as well?
To be honest, in my time, I can't remember struggling. Now, there has been chat before, maybe in the 70s and 80s and that, it wasn't easy. And like, we weren't always successful. Like, we only got promoted to Division 1 in 1988. And I was 16 at that time. So like, from then, like even before that, I can remember it was a struggle at times. Like, we were in Division 3 and Division 2 struggling to get teams out. But we've seemed to, mainly at men's football, we've seemed to don't have that problem. We did struggle maybe at ladies football in Camogie for a time, but at the minute, no. Everybody's just, there's so much want there, so much goodwill, and everybody wants to play. It's great to see that the real commitment that's given from our players right down from top to bottom. Like, as I said previously there before we come on, there's people in Kilcoo, if they're not playing, they're sort of looked at as if to say, is there something wrong with you? And I think that's a big thing. Like, it's popular to play, it's popular to be there. And in recent times, for a small club, we haven't struggled for numbers, which is a credit to everyone involved.
Sinead, just to come to you, have you ever seen, say within the county board level, struggling to get people to fulfill roles?
Oh yeah, like it's a completely different scenario, I think, when it comes from asking people to commit to a county role, and that's still even to the present day, because your majority of people, including myself, we're all knee deep in our own clubs, so it's another voluntary role that you're adding on top of that. So you're eating into that person's time, and most of us are all working or have kids, and so the county roles, it's a big step up to ask somebody to commit to that, and you're actually honing in on certain people for their skills that suit obviously individual jobs, like somebody who's good with money being their treasurer, and somebody who's good at PR being your PRO, the likes of Michael there, that's his role in Kilcoo. You're honing in on individuals nearly to take that county role, because you have to remember, when they take that role on, that they're going to be looking after not just one club, but we have 35 clubs in Armagh, I think, this year now. Development roles, all of those, it's a massive step up. And to be honest, we do still struggle to fill those roles. We have a great committee there at the minute, but it's now finding the next person to hand, to pass the baton on to take on that county role, because we're not all going to be in these roles forever. So we do have to build up that, that crowd of people to come behind. And again, as Michael says, success definitely, wants to make people get involved on the field and off the field. So if there's things are going well, maybe people want to become part of that. And then also you have the other side of people who have never played football, but maybe very good at doing paperwork. So yeah, grab that person, get them in. They're as good as anybody. You don't have to be involved in GAA all your life, or maybe you've come from a family and you've never played sport, but you want to do something, maybe to build up a CV, or so those people there, we would always be on the lookout for that type of person as well.
That's it, Sinead. Phelim, I was just going to ask you that there's so many different ways to get involved. You don't have to be on the pitch, there's loads of different roles that clubs are begging you to get involved with.
Absolutely. And what I found over time, through my own personal life, being involved in the GAA and actually professionally, I think what the GAA is very, very strong in is, how do I put it, making their members accountable. As in, going to their membership and recruiting people within their membership, as Sinead has said, who have key skills, and bringing those skills to bear for the club or for the county board, and that has a big impact. And they probably do that better than other sports. I think they're very, very good at tapping into their local community and bringing people in and using their skills. Michael referenced earlier on how it's probably easier to see people with the requisite coaching skills out on the pitch. But if a team is healthy on the pitch, it's invariably healthy off the pitch. And what that means is it's healthy in the committee room with the subcommittees who have got people with, for example, architectural or building experience when they're thinking about a capital project. people with finance experience when they're thinking about pulling together funding, people with some legal experience when they're dealing with land issues, when they're trying to buy land to build second pitches and whatever. So pulling all those skills together is an important thing for every club, no matter how small they are. And my experience is that across the GA sector, we often see that GA clubs and GA people are good at tapping up their local skills and bringing people in who might not have kicked a goal or scored a point, but they certainly have an impact on their club by bringing their skills to the club in some form.
And how important is it as well to get the younger generation involved? Because there's probably some younger people now that maybe aren't interested in playing at all, but they would like to already get involved now with the board.
Well, I think what you'll find is it's interesting to hear Michael say that about the age profile of the people involved in the Kilcoo committee. I would know the Kilcoo committee very well through Community Finance Ireland, supporting them on probably 3 or 4 occasions through various transactions that has helped them develop their facilities over 3 or 4 phases, which Michael referenced earlier on. You're moving from the gym project to the community hub project to the changing room project and delivering them successfully. But there's young people involved there who are bringing fresh fundraising ideas, how to tap into fundraising beyond the club population, going wider and accessing fundraising in the best way possible. And I think what we've found over recent times, and maybe this is a result of COVID as well, is that people have come out of COVID thinking to themselves, no, I want to get involved in my local community. I want to find a way where I can support my local community. Michael referenced as well earlier something about GA clubs at the minute. They are pretty much community hubs. They always have been, but they are now in the sense of the facilities that they have that bring more people to the club, and that might result in a whole range of activities led by people of different ages.
Oh, that's it. Like even a walkway as a play park that Michael said as well. Michael, would you have seen the benefit of having all ages and generations involved in the club?
Big time, it's massive. Like, you know, when I was growing up, traditionally our committee would have been elder statesmen and mostly men. There's no point saying any different. That's the way it was. And here it just wasn't Kilcoo. A lot of places were the same. Yeah. But in recent times, Terry O'Hanlon took over 10 years ago as chair of our club, and he sort of changed the landscape, and he got people into their roles, that like he got himself into PRO, that, you know, that was my strong point. He got people into development that were strong at that. He got people into the Irish language stuff that were strong at that. He got a team of people around him and let them own their role. You know, so they had responsibility, and you know, it was up to like us. If we needed a wee subcommittee below us, we take the lead there, get younger people in around us, and you know, that's massive, you know. And then what really is inspiring is seeing the like young people. Like there's 3 or 4 girls in our camogie team there sitting in the committee room, and they're mad keen for it. They're mad keen for it. So every night, like they're not afraid to put their head above the parapets and you know, and speak their mind, which is great. But for years they didn't probably have a say, and that's totally changed now, and it's all for the good of the club in general.
Definitely, and even the fundraising ideas and obviously the online stuff, you know, the younger generation are going to be a lot stronger in that aspect, and it'll only help with getting it out there, getting these ideas. So it's massive, and it's brilliant to hear that. And Michael, you did play for Kilcoo for what, 25 years or so. So going from off the pitch to, or from on the pitch to off the pitch, how has that transition been?
That's it. Well, I was from underage. I wouldn't say I was an all-time great or anything weird, but I done my best for giving me all. But obviously, as age, old father time caught up, you know, I'd always a passion for getting involved in committee work. I did serve a wee spell in it when I was still playing, and then I got involved in a bit of management and stuff, you know, even with the thirds team. So the PRO role landed in my door. We had a wee magazine, a community magazine, and I've done bits and pieces for it. I just built from there, like, and even now, like, the PR is just going clean mad. I would nearly need a course to refresh myself and to get up with modern times with the younger generation. But that's what I say. The younger ones below me now, I'm tapping into them for ideas, and just that's in PR, and then you have that on every role, which is great. Like, but it takes that youthful exuberance to come in, you know, and drive the thing forward. It's just brilliant.
Oh, it does. And that's what a successful club is all about, is everyone pulling together. And Sinead, just when we're mentioning those different roles, is there any, I don't know, workshops or anywhere that sort of upskill people for these type of roles? If they're listening in and they're thinking, oh, look, I would love to get involved now in my club, but I don't know where to start. Is there anything out there that you know of, county board to get involved with?
Yeah, there actually are. There's some great workshops run. Well, I would only know about the LGFA side of workshops, but it applies to all anyway, because it's the same type of thing you're dealing with. The likes of you there, Michael, I don't know how you do PRO. We have four girls on, and they're from like 18 to 21, around that age group. And just in that, just, you know, when you tapped on the PR end of it, I went out, and so we sort of advertised, you know, do you want to get involved? You know, we need people to fill in PR. And these four young girls put their hand up and goes, yeah, we'll give a hand. Like, so they're designing posters, they're doing the Instagram, doing Twitter, doing Facebook. You know, you have all these, there's no real newspapers anymore as such, not that they're not there, but they're very good for the older generation maybe. But if you want to get word out and get it out quick, these young ones are just tap on the phones, job done. And one girl actually got a job out of it for putting on her CV that she was doing PR for Armagh. So, you know, there's opportunities for these people then, you know, down the line coming, you know, working for their clubs and their counties. So but there are, I just got off the stream there, but there are workshops for probably every role that somebody wants to take on in either in a county or a club. There are the Ulster LGFA run them. They have two development officers who run quite a few. So I'm assuming the majority of people maybe on tonight, I don't know if they're in Ulster clubs or counties. And then obviously the LGFA at HQ, they also run workshops as well on a regular basis, and they also have already pre-done workshops that if you actually go onto the website, onto the Ladies Gaelic website, there are massive literature stuff there, all workshops that were actually done probably throughout COVID, and you can actually still link into them and get the tops, you know, the tips for the role that you're in, whether that's chairperson, treasurer, secretary, PR, development, registration, fundraising. There's so much. There's actually a lot of stuff out there that people can tap into, you know, for ideas. Like, and don't, anybody that is listening, you know, I'm sure the girls will give out like our details or whatever. I have no qualms in pointing people in the right direction to where they need to go to get that help, you know.
Aisling, can I just come in there?
Of course, Phelim. Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of any of that, so that's great, Sinead.
The Ulster GAA have a very well established club officer training program, where the training program is delivered from the Ulster GAA down through the counties, down to the clubs, where people can attend those programs and get access to specific training on each particular role within a club. And it's similar to the coaching training program that they have, where you can get accredited along the way. And it's similar to what Sinead had said. There's a plethora of information actually online. There's content available online, and on the GAA portal, there's a lot of access to information to help you if you are thinking about taking up a club officer role, or a club officer that wants to develop their skills. So there's a lot of good training programs out there delivered specifically by Ulster GAA and the other provincial councils.
That's amazing. I wasn't aware of that at all. And you would need to be upskilled, because a secretary does a lot of work, a lot of hard work behind the scenes that you wouldn't be aware of how much goes into it. The PRO, you know, there's a lot that goes on, and no club will be successful without any of these people. And of course, we have the likes of coaching staff, we groundkeepers, we have kit managers, and all volunteers across the whole area of the club. And it's phenomenal to see this. But where does that come from, Phelim, would you say? And how is it maintained to keep these people working within the club?
Well, I think, you know, I'm aware of these range of training programs that come down through the Ulster Council, and they also have the Club My scheme, which actually measures the development of the club and their development plans there. And there's a lot of support within the GAA structure, the GAA networks, to, if you're looking to develop your club facilities, your development plan around coaching, and actually development of your people within that. But to answer your point in particular, I go back to what Michael was saying earlier. If people are allowed the opportunity to own their role and further develop their role, and similar to what Sinead has said about girls who are operating the PRO function there, if they're allowed the opportunity to develop their role and develop their skills, you know, they get a lot of confidence from doing that. They find a place in the club that actually works for them, and perhaps they move on to other positions, and then people come in and backfill in behind them. And believe it or not, there's so many different roles that need filled within the standard GAA club. There's actually training content on groundkeeping and greenkeeping, on maintaining pitches. So there's lots of stuff that can be supported there. But I think the important thing is delegating to the right people people of the right age and people of the right experience, and giving them the opportunity to build their skills within the club.
Absolutely. And Michael, is it mostly past players, family? Is there anybody that's involved, I suppose, in Kilcoo that has nobody playing and they just said, look, I just wanted to get involved in the club and be a part of the community?
Yeah, well, our club in particular, there would be a lot of, family history. So like, there's people maybe in a leading role, and, people get involved because their uncle or their cousin or whoever's involved. But there's also a number of people that are in our committee and they've absolutely very little interest on what happens on the pitch. Yes, they get to go to games and stuff like that, but there wouldn't be people that have every Friday night at a Division 1 league game. So there's people definitely involved in our club that have maybe less interest than the majority, and they're happy to get in and do a role. Like, as I alluded to earlier, there's people there in development. Just wouldn't be mad football people, but they're brilliant at what they do in terms of getting their facilities up to scratch, and that goes with a lot of other things as well. So we have a good broad mixture. There is because we're a small tight knit community, there's a lot of family, close knit families involved, but there's also people from the outside, and even people that have come in and moved into the parish in recent times got involved, and they've been a breath of fresh air as well, because they come with new ideas. They're not coming maybe with the same mentality, the same mindset as we would have, and that's been breathtaking as well. And people, like ladies that have maybe married men from the parish moved in, took skills from maybe their work environment, what to do, and come in and give it out at a committee level. And it takes all that coming together, and the different voices, different opinions. Like, there's no point just to, as I said earlier, all the old traditionalists coming out with the same old waffle all the time. You need all ages and people with new ideas, because if you want to bring the thing to the next level and keep moving forward, you just need fresh energy all the time.
Yeah, to keep growing it through to the future, and having all ages, as you said, involved is so important. Sinead, how important is volunteers across the board to grow the club?
I think you do still need some of the older heads, I would call them, about for and I done a podcast the other day with Thomas Niblock, and I was saying there are still dinosaurs out there. Like, you know what I mean? You don't need the dinosaurs, but you do need somebody who's maybe older but progressive, but also like, for example, my father was chairperson before me on quite a few stints, and so he handed the baton over, as the man would say, to me in he finished up in 2016. There was a bit of a break in 2017, and I took over in 2018. And the thing that actually put him off probably most in continuing his role was technology, emails. My dad lifted the phone, he rang people and he talked to them. Don't do text messages, don't do emails, which is very, at times, I think, we should go back to that old way sometimes. But so you still need, I would still bounce my ideas off him. He's 72, but he's a fresh 72. He's young. He loves ideas. He loves fundraising. He's a very sort of level-headed person. So he would at times, say to me, whoa, slow down, or I'd be going into something and did you study this? Did you work out this? For example, when we went ahead with our own, pitch, he was probably one of the main driving forces behind that. He was the silent sort of person in the background, but in my ear the whole time. So to keep me right, obviously, and the board right, and to protect Armagh as well. So you do need that older generation still floating about who as I say, who control, maybe not control us, but just keep an eye on things so that you're not actually rushing ahead. And then obviously, that the younger people, the girls, for example, who took on the PR. And the big thing is that if somebody rings me about something to do with finance or something to do with fixtures or something to do with the secretary role, I fire to the people who we have put into that position. You have to make those people feel important, and I would be lost without them, to be honest with you, because there's no way that one person can do everything. And I find that if you're maybe involved in a club or a county at the minute and you feel that there's change needs to happen, and that there's maybe somebody there who's been there too long and won't let maybe new people in, or fresh ideas, or that's where success doesn't really happen then, because you're stuck in the doldrums and there's no change. So new people coming in, as Michael says, into the community or whatever, I didn't think, now, to be honest, that if you come into Kilcoo, you had to be from Kilcoo now, but
you have to be vetted first now. I didn't get that bit across.
I didn't think you get into Kilcoo too handy now. It's a bit like Cross McGlen, you know what I mean? So you just have to be very wary, like. So yeah, so I do think that, you know, you need to take people in, and now obviously I have to do a wee bit of homework on stuff, because then somebody could be, you know, not the right person for the role that you have put them into, and so you don't want to stop people getting involved, but you also, you know, you need the right person to get involved, so that you in your role, well, especially for me as county chair, that I feel confident that I can turn the phone off for a week and I know that the place isn't gonna fall apart. You know, I can go away, I can switch off, I can do whatever I want to do, but I know everybody in their role at the minute can handle that department, you know, and the role that I'm in, I have to learn, and had to learn probably to delegate that out. The first year I took it on, probably took on too much. I was trying to micromanage everybody. But with time then you learn that these people are very good and you've put them into this position for a reason, so let them at it, you know.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to delegate and let people know their role, let them feel important and involved, because I think that breeds success. Phelim, have you seen this within your club at all, where you've had, I suppose, younger people, and then, as Sinead was saying, there's some more experienced people there that really offer a lot? Like that was a really good example that Sinead, when they were doing the pitch, and, you know, there was people sort of giving her that advice who've probably been through those situations.
Well, look, I have seen it in my own club, and I've seen it in a wide range of clubs that I've interacted with in my professional role with Community Finance Ireland. And, you know, what's always very, very interesting for me, you know, we at Community Finance Ireland say that we speak finance, but we hear people. The important thing for us is that we meet with people that are behind the club. The people that are involved in the club are as important as any of the facilities that they'll have. Because the people that will drive the club, that will be the custodians for the club, that will develop the club and grow the club. But when Community Finance Ireland are interacting with anybody, they're the people that we're lending to. And that's very, very important. And the people are the key drivers. I'm always interested by the fact that you see people that are there that may steer from the background, and they are a good oversight. Sinead mentioned that. There's people like that in every club. And they provide great oversight and have great experience that comes to bear. And it's very, very important. You will have people within many club committees that are more, should I say, energetic and are keen to achieve and keen to develop facilities very, very quickly. And those people are important because they have that energy. But that all has to be married with people with certain key skills. And sometimes you've got people involved there who have never kicked a ball or swung a hurling stick. And the reason they're involved is because they can see the benefit their kids are getting from this club. And I think a lot more people nowadays are attuned to this, that they see the benefit of the social cohesion of living, whether it be Slaughtneil or Glenullen or St. Paul's in Belfast or Bourne and Warrenpoint or Kilcoo, Ballycran, Portaferry, wherever it may be. In those localities, there's people there that see the benefit of their local club and the impact that it has. And because of that, they have got involved and brought their skills and their experience. And it's a matter of valuing that volunteerism, keeping people fresh. And as I go back to earlier, I think, you know, letting people own their role and feel empowered to do their role. Sinead made a very, very important point. I think if you've got somebody micromanaging across the entire piece, that can be difficult. So you need to give people their head and allow them to develop their role within the club and have the impact that everybody wants.
Yeah, and I would say that that's how a lot of clubs have had all their success, that if it's ran well behind the scenes. Has that been the case, Michael, for Kilcoo?
Absolutely, yeah. Phelim's at the nail on the head there. You know, obviously we have a management committee at the top, and there's 7 or 8 of us maybe in it, but you know, we have a management meeting every fortnight, we have a full committee meeting every month. But within that, we have a load of subcommittees, so it's all spread out, and everybody has a role to play. There's nobody just taking ownership and knowing everything and doing it all. And you have delegation as a good tool to have. But if you have a bad leader and can't delegate, it suffers because you cannot do everything. But we've had great leaders in our club, and they delegate everything very well, and a lot of people rise to the challenge then. So it's a look, you're successful on the field, but the big reason why we're successful on it is because we're very good off it. Like, we've got a guy there, Niall Morgan, who does our groundworks. You know, he works in construction. He goes in there, he spends a full day on Saturday every week maintaining them pitches. You know, nobody else could do that job that he does, and he does it. He takes pride in what he does. That's, you know, that's down to them wee things. That keeps the thing going. So we've got the best facilities to play on. The players are getting the best opportunity to train in a professional environment. And you know, and that, even we've outside managers there at the minute, that attracts the next them people when they see there's a progressive club. You know, they've good leaders from the top, the players willing to put their shoulder to the wheel on the pitch, and all that collaborating together, you know, brings success. And look, we've been fortunate; we've had a good bit of success in recent times, but it wasn't always like that. It definitely wasn't.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear the amount of time that these volunteers put in. It really is something else. And something else that's really growing at the moment is the Ladies GAA. They've been having a real moment. I have to mention my own County Meath. They've been phenomenal over the last few years. It's unbelievable to see an underdog come up and go all the way to the top, what we like to see in sport. But Sinead, I suppose the game as a whole, it's only going to grow and grow from here.
Oh, absolutely. Sure, like it's the fastest growing sport, you know, currently at the minute in this country, you know, which is massive. But I don't know if you tuned into the podcast that I had done with Thomas and Oisin, but like the biggest gripe is financial help, and that's why we had to reach out to community finance, because we felt that this was, you know, the best option for us at the time. But I just wanted to go back to the community thing because you may not know this, but the actual facilities that we inherited or have now used to be a former club which was defunct, and the work that we have done as Armagh now on that facility, they have now actually reinstated their club, so that club is now back up and going. And so on the nights that we're not there, you know, we obviously, you know, give them the use of the pitch, so the schools using it, the communities using it, and now the club has reinstated back up there in St Michael's, which is brilliant to see, because there's kids there that weren't getting football probably in the local parish, and they've now, you know, stepped up. So I think, you know, when people see things happening, as Michael says, when people see facilities and outside managers and they see what's going on and this looks like a really good progressive club, they want to get involved. So that has sort of happened with us the other way around. We've now a club back involved and wanting to play football and get the kids down there because they have seen the work that we have done on the pitch. But it was just, you know, to point out that it can work in the reverse as well. Yeah, so ladies football at the minute is flying. Like we actually probably be one of the smaller counties, to be honest. We have probably about, at the minute, maybe 2,600 registered members. Probably now that tally wouldn't be in yet because the registration's up at the end of this month, so everybody has to be registered and back on the system for the end of May. We've 34 clubs. We've probably going to have more numbers as well, because we've the amount of young girls now that are playing. Like back when I wanted to play football, the manager here in our local club in Clevey at the time, no, girls aren't allowed to play football with boys. So I had to actually go and play for a club just outside Newry. So that's why then Dad at the time was like, I'm starting ladies football in Clevey because I'm not running you every evening out to Newry. So that's really how...
And you need someone like that to do that.
Well, you know, at the time he was, you know, the reaction, which was 1990, which is now what, many years ago, 32 years ago, you know, he went to the committee and he says, I'm going to start ladies football. And they were like, what? Girls playing football? And Dad was like, yeah. So it ended up, the committee actually sort of went against him at the time. And there was a local council pitch here up beside us. So I put posters up all over, everywhere, every local shop, girls football, doesn't matter what age you are. Now, could you imagine, I was only, 10, 11 maybe. So they were hand-drawn posters. They weren't great, but we put it out, and there was actually 40 girls of all ages, of ability and no ability. There was a few that should have went to play rugby, but we all gathered here 32 years ago, and that established then ladies football within, you know, the parish of Clevey. And at the time, you know, it was so looked down on, and now I look at it and I go, oh, I don't know what the attitude maybe has changed as well. You know, that men now realise that actually, you know what, women can actually play football, so let them at it type thing. So that attitude has changed as well. There's quite a way to go in certain aspects, don't get me wrong. But for example, the amount of people say, actually maybe COVID helped as well, the year that there was nobody allowed to attend the games. So a lot of the games obviously were on TV. So people who had never watched ladies football before were actually watching ladies football, and they could not get over the skill level of some of the girls playing at that, you know, at that higher Division 1 and senior championship, like Dublin, Meath, Cork, Kerry, ourselves, and Mayo, you know. So Those games, I think, and COVID definitely helped ladies football in that respect. But yes, the numbers are going through the roof, which is great to see, and you know, it's only going to get bigger. There's definitely no way it's going to get any smaller.
Yeah, it's only going to grow from here. And Phelim, do you think that the attitude has changed about the ladies' game? Have you noticed that at all?
Well, you know, I think for me, I'm struck by the fact that when I'm meeting with GAA clubs who are keen to develop their facilities and therefore develop their activities, the main reason nowadays for that is because of the serious growth of ladies Gaelic across the board, across the counties. I know that across Ulster from speaking to people. Like, I've spoke with probably 6 GAA clubs in the last month who are looking at developing facilities purely because they want to cater better for their ladies, their lady footballers. And Sinead's right, that probably was not always the case, let's be honest. And there still is, I would suggest, a long way to go. I think Sinead's right in saying that. But it is heartening to hear a lot of GAA clubs say that they want to develop that second pitch, that third pitch, the training area, the gym area, whatever it may be, in order for them to better cater for their their teams across all age groups, and ladies and men's. It's I suppose it points to the wider impact of the club nowadays and how it sits at the centre of the community. And I think the important thing is that ladies have always had a very strong role in GAA clubs, in driving GAA clubs. And I think now they're doing it on the pitch as much as anybody. And I think Sinead is right. Watching some of the players that I've seen recently, Vicky Wall from Meath and Amy Mackin from Armagh, these girls can play football amazingly, and it's fantastic to watch. So, you know, long may it continue.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see where it is at this moment. Like, even when I started out playing, there was no girls team. We would have played with the lads team for both hurling and football, and we begged and begged to try and get a team, and finally then about under 10 we got a girls team and pushed on from there. But yeah, it's mad to think that there wasn't a team only that short time ago. So it's really changed and grown. And Michael, within your club in Kilcoo, say the roles off the pitch for women, are they mostly traditional roles that you see women in, or is it mixed between men and women with those roles off the pitch?
Yeah, totally mixed. Up to a couple of years ago, Ewan McAvoy was our secretary, leading role, and she's a young girl. If she's 30, she's the height of it at the minute, so she was doing that role from her mid-20s. Our vice chair this year, Cara Ward, is a lady. Sheila Kelly was involved there in development. Carly McLean in there at the minute, she's assistant secretary to Seamus O'Hanlon. So there's people, they're not just getting in and sitting in the committee and nodding their head, they're getting in and taking leadership, which is great.
Absolutely. And we're going to hear a little bit more, I suppose, about Community Finance Ireland and what they do. Phelim, you might give us an insight of some of the benefits of social finance to clubs that you've worked with, say, over the years.
Well, I think since we've been lending to GAA clubs, what we've found is that when they interact with ourselves, they have the opportunity to begin and grow a relationship with a finance provider who can match up to their needs. And it's very important, because what it means is that we can mold a social finance support for them that matches their needs at that particular time, or in the phased development that they might want to take place throughout their club. And that may be when they're developing new facilities, but it also could be if they needed some short-term working capital support, if they needed to restructure existing bank debt, or if they needed a bridging loan to enable them to draw down a grant. So there's many different reasons why a GAA club would access social finance. But I think the important thing is when they speak with us, I think they are pleasantly surprised by the fact that the entire process is not as onerous as they expect, that it is more of a level relationship where we speak freely and we share information as much as we can and put the best foot forward. And I think that flexibility that we provide, because any loan product, any loans that we provide to GAA clubs are flexible in terms of the repayment, and it's not built on fees or penalties, and that gives GAA clubs a lot of room. And what I mean by that is they may be seeking to develop a second pitch. They may be able to access some degree of grant funding, but there may be a shortfall. If they borrow from us, they can then be in a strong position to develop that pitch and to win the grant from the local council or whoever it may be. But when they move forward, and they develop that pitch and they want to repay the loan, they make their consistent repayments, which we would agree at the outset, but also they can embark on their fundraising efforts and make lump sum repayments, and they can repay the loan early. They can make the loan work for them. And I think that's very, very important. That flexibility and the agility and the understanding that Community Finance Ireland provide is really, really useful for GAA clubs, because I think Sinead may have known this, and the guys in Kilcoo would know. From the outset, it allows us to actually add value to the process and give the benefit of our experience. And we might critically analyse and give some feedback. And I think that helps the GAA club be in a better position at the start of the loan and at the end of the loan. So, you know, the access into social finance allows the GAA club to take charge of what they're doing and manage their destiny a bit better in terms of developing their facilities and what it is they want to do.
Brilliant. And Michael, you actually would have worked with Community Finance Ireland. How did they help, I suppose, in improving your facilities at Kilcoo?
Just even an excellent service all around. You know, I've seen, you know, from start to finish, you know, from the first conversation right to the end, there's never an issue. And even, you know, flexibility there, that's a big thing. It makes it much easier for our finance people to go to like a Phelim and deal with. And even accessibility, like a lot of people in our club that are, you know, running the show in terms of development, the whole full-time jobs, they haven't time during the day maybe to, you know, to do anything with it. But Phelim there, like, they're go out of his time in the evening and come and meet them people that deal with that. That's been massive for our club, you know, having that, you know, that flexibility and accessibility to do that. But the service has been brilliant. And, you know, you only have to look at what's in Kilcoo now, and, you know, they provided a great partner at our club, and we're forever grateful and thankful for all the service they provided, and the fund in particular, which has been absolutely brilliant.
Well, this is it, because people have so much going on in their lives, and, you know, you have all of your mortgage, all these things that you go through yourself, and then you're thinking, and then I'm a volunteer at the GAA club and we're trying to improve the facilities and we need a loan here, and you're thinking, how do people do all of this? So it is amazing to hear how much it can benefit you and to have that flexibility, because that is major in a GAA club, Sinead, because you don't know where the funds are always going to be, whether the fundraising is going to be successful or not. You know, it's difficult.
Oh, it's difficult, surely. Like, especially with us, you know, at county level, everything is like nearly a cost above, or because obviously with the level that you're at, you have nutritionists, strength and conditioning coaches, you have all these people to be paid in their roles at all age groups for county level. And to be honest with you, the service, it would have been Barry initially, my development officer, who would have dealt with Peter initially for the whole loan for us on our end, and the two of them struck up a great relationship. And me being the delegator that I am, I let Barry have that relationship and work away and be part of that. I met Peter, I think maybe once or twice up at the pitch. And to be honest, it was his enthusiasm as well to, like, he couldn't get over what we were doing. We're like the first county in Ireland to do this, like a ladies football training facility, for county teams. So, you know, it was a first for them and a first for us and a first for the country probably. But without the relationship that we built up probably with Peter, you know, we wouldn't have went with it, because he was more involved nearly than we were. So, and the other big thing was, it was just the ease of everything. There was no hassle. There was nothing that couldn't be answered. There was some way of working around. Little did we know COVID was going to come in, and then sort of maybe with us with ladies football, I find that it's very hard to, and when I put myself in comparison to, say, the Armagh men who produce £100 tickets, you know, they'll sell them no bother. It's very hard in ladies football to sell a £100 ticket to anybody. So majority of our fundraising would have come from events. So a £20 or a £30 night, people in a room, you know, that sort of left us for 2 years there. So we were doing stuff off the cuff, doing the 100k, doing something. We had to reinvent ourselves throughout COVID to raise money, which we have done, you know, successfully. So don't worry, we'll be getting repayments back. But no, so that's the other side of it, that it's just it just felt the whole ease of everything, and the communication was so open. It's not like going to a bank, you know, and it's somebody sitting on a keyboard. And, you know, I'm not, you know, saying that that's not the way to go either, whatever, but I just felt everything was so personal and so easy. And, you know, I met Peter, as I say, up at the pitch, and then, you know, that was it. We sort of shook hands and the deal was done, you know, and then I'm like, oh, so that's it then, you know. So yeah. It was I thought, like, you know, you nearly have to go and prove how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to pay this back? This is what we're going to do. This is our 10-year plan or 5-year plan or whatever this is. But no, I would absolutely recommend community finance to anybody sitting there that's maybe sitting on the fence and thinking about it. You know, give the guys a ring and definitely see what the plan is suited for your needs, you know.
Yeah, you definitely get the feel that they understood, that they get it, you know, they get what it is like to be involved in a club and to run a club. I actually remember when the news broke that you had these new facilities, like the first and only dedicated female changing and playing pitch in Armagh. I was actually interviewing Amy Mackin at the time and she told me about it and she was buzzing about it. And it was such a statement within ladies football at the time. You're like, wow, like this is the first and only. And, you know, that's when things really started to grow from there. And we're hopefully going to see more and more of it. So we have a lot of questions in. So I'm just looking at the time. We've been chatting away and it's already 10 to 8. So I might actually just share a few of the questions with you. So the first one is, so several panelists have served multiple roles within their club and communities. What would they say their experience in their club has contributed to their professional roles or personal life outside of the GAA? So the skills that you might have gained or the confidence that you've gained. Michael, I might throw that one to you.
Yeah, it's just a big thing, you know, that we traditionally been known, we had a lot of tradespeople in our parish and, you know, wouldn't have been involved much, but there's a lot of people now who come from professional backgrounds, you know, university graduates taking up roles. I'm not saying there's not anything wrong with people, because they also bring a lot to it as well. People have moved from a trade background, but what you have there, you've got people from all different professions, from finance, you know, people working in construction that know how to, you know, put buildings together. There's people there, you know, working in PR. There's people working in all walks of life, but they can bring all that together. And see, when you get that all around one table in one room, it just makes everything so much easier. And decisions can be made so much easier. And then when you're dealing with the like of Phelim there, in terms of going for the like of grants and that, if the people who know what they're talking about talking to that man, like there's no point me as a PRO who isn't maybe good at fundraising talking to Phelim. The right person has to be talking to Phelim, and everything just works so much easier. You know, job specific is massive, and it's the right people in the right roles. And so I think that's one thing we've done very well as a club. We've got people, you know, to get people, right people in the right roles, and you know, it's proved very beneficial. But you definitely having that educational background definitely helps, you know, when bringing that experience from maybe work life into the club where they can bring their ideas and put them forward, which is it's definitely proved beneficial.
Yeah, so beneficial. We've loads more. I might mention one or two more. So there's mention of growing numbers, particularly in ladies football. How are the panel finding that their club is meeting the growing demands on infrastructure? An example would be changing rooms. Phelim, have you seen this in your club?
Well, I've seen it in many clubs actually, where it's become a pressure point for them, where for example, changing rooms and the installation of change rooms for their ladies teams as well. And actually, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the simple thing of across the week, if you've got a club, we were speaking before we come on, there's many dual clubs. They're playing hurling, football, they're playing camogie, and they're playing ladies Gaelic as well. And that puts a pressure on facilities. There's not enough hours in the week. So I've seen a lot of clubs that I've been speaking to have said that they recognise it's a necessity that they need to develop their facilities in order to have more training area, because they're maybe find it difficult at the minute to hiring council facilities or whatever. There's such an outlay with that, and they want to develop their own facilities. But that, you know, the important thing there as well, that they need to have access to the land to do that, and that's not always straightforward. And also, as you've mentioned there, the development of the changing facilities that match the playing facilities. There is a big pressure on clubs at the minute. A lot of clubs are grasping the nettle and saying we need to go ahead and do this, and they're speaking to us about how they can finance that.
There's probably clubs then as well that are a lot further along than other clubs. So you'd have some clubs that have these great facilities, and then you have other smaller clubs that are just not in the situation to be able to do that. Sinead, would you have seen, sorry Phelim, go ahead.
But the interesting thing there I've seen is that we deal with clubs right across the board, from right the smallest clubs to the largest clubs, but they all have similar issues within the club. And I think, you know, the provision of a small loan to a small GAA club has probably more impact than a larger loan would to a larger club. It's concentrated. And I think we are very keen to speak to people across GAA clubs of a whole range of sizes.
Absolutely. And I was wondering if within county board, well, you see these girls that are playing county and they're probably all coming from different size clubs, different facilities. Do you see that difference there, Sinead?
Facilities wise, yeah, you have like, well, for example, I'm now with Silver Bridge Club. Like there's 1, 2, 3 pitches. There's talk about maybe, you know, extending again. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 changing rooms. You know, massive hall, the whole lot. You know, the club itself. But you know, sometimes being from a big club doesn't mean that it's the more facilities you have, the better it is. I don't know. You know, every club has their own battles. I think it's the recognition of the sport, especially in ladies football. You know, that they have to be recognised whether there's 1 pitch or 4 pitches. Everybody get a slot. Everybody has to have access, whether there's 2 changing rooms or 4 or 6. And I do think that's all about changing the trend and thinking of ladies football as it progresses. That it's changing that thought that, you know, girls can be allowed to train on their pitch and have the slot and use the changing facilities as well. So, you know, it's a battle for everybody in a certain way, because obviously if you have 3 or 4 pitches, you must have a load of teams to accommodate. So there's still a pitch rota. There's still arguments over who's getting where in the top field, or the good field, or the back field. So, you know, you've all this going on, and then, you know, you go back to the 1 club with 1 pitch. But I do think the trend is changing for recognition of ladies football in clubs, which is brilliant to see. Like,
Can I just come in there, Ashley? What I've noticed as a trend recently, and it's been seen in my own club, is that some clubs have looked at their location and thought to themselves, actually, we need to develop other facilities. We mentioned it earlier on the call here. You know, things like walking trails, play parks situated within the grounds, ball walls, multi-use games areas. And when you develop those facilities as well, it opens the site right out to a wide range of people.
I actually never asked, Michael, what facilities have you really improved in Kilcoo?
Well, the most recent one there, the new changing room with a meeting room attached to it as well. With communal toilets below the meeting room. You know, with so many people around the grounds for different reasons, you know, there's toilets there, they're kept clean and tidy. The new changing rooms as well, they're female orientated. The most recent ones, so they're right up to modern spec. Our older changing rooms, which were built a long time ago, you know, they're fine, and they're suitable, very suitable for men, but they're just not maybe as accommodating for ladies. So to get this new set of change rooms, it's give us, yes, extra capacity, but it's great that we can use that. If there's a ladies game on or camogie game on, we can say, right, there you go, girls, there's yours. The boys go into the other one, you know. So it's great to have that to do. Where, you know, back in 25, 30 years ago, we're in the back of an old hut getting changed, you know. So things have moved, but we've definitely moved with the times in that respect. But the community hall has been massive for us as well, because there's a meeting room, IT facilities not there. So, you know, not even just for the players, that's useful for other things. There's like post-COVID there in recent times, bingo started again. Revelation, people are loving it. You know, it's bringing people down there. They're playing bingo on a Sunday night. You know, my own mother goes to it. It's like another night. It's like a night out every week for her, and she loves it. Like, and she's one of many, you know. So, you know, developing your facilities, it's just not for the ones in the playing fields. It's for the other club members off it too. You can't leave them behind you, because see, when you go fundraising, they're the people's doors you'll be knocking. They'll be the people's the money you need, you know, to buy your £20 or £100 tickets. And look, that none of them have ever been found wanting in our end. So, you know, it's all right saying, you know, you're getting finance support on that. It's great. You still need the goodwill of the people around you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's where the community hub comes into it again. You know, it's involving everybody. So the last and final question actually sort of feeds into that as well. So calling on Phelim's 20 years working with GAA clubs at Community Finance Ireland, does he see a difference in the challenges that clubs are facing now compared to when you started?
Yeah, and I suppose in simple terms, the bar is always being raised. And I think a lot more GAA clubs, a lot more people within GAA clubs are prepared to lift their heads up and seek to develop more facilities and more activities for their wider community, just as described there by Michael. I think back in the day, the focus may have been on this pitch, these sets of floodlights, winning the league, winning the championship, men's team being in Division 1, you know, and that's about it. Now, as we've traveled through time, what we've seen is, think about the conversation that we've just had there, guys. What we see is, we see a lot more people being involved in the club. We see the growth of ladies Gaelic, and we see the growth of camogie. We see the growth of female involvement across the club structures. Then you have the the actual range of juvenile teams that are there, the adult teams, and what is supporting that is the wider community interaction. Michael referenced there in his own club, and I know my own club as well, a walking trail, a play park, some meeting room facilities. You're bringing different people to your club. These are the issues at hand now for GAA clubs. It's becoming more and more about the GAA club being the community hub that it probably always was, but actually settling in that and then growing that further and bringing other community groups into the GAA club and using it as a facility for everyone. I think back in the day, it was probably solely focused on that playing pitch, those floodlights, that senior team. Now, I think the challenges are more and more, and there is a challenge to get development plans compiled and futurized, to get planning approved, to get funding assembled, and to get buy-in from your local community.
And there's just one last question that they wanted to get in, if they could. You might understand this better than me, Phelim. Is the community fund help only available to bricks and mortar?
Well, there's different funds that are available in terms of grant funds that support GAA clubs in different reasons. From our own perspective, as a social finance provider, we provide loan finance to GAA clubs to help them develop their facilities, as in bricks and mortar and pitches, but also to restructure their existing finances, to provide working capital support, and they might need a bridging loan that allows them to pay out on costs of the construction of a new facility, to then draw down a grant fund that has to be retrospectively drawn down. So there's bridging loans, term loans for bricks and mortar, and for other means as well.
Brilliant. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this evening. I hope you all enjoyed it and you found it informative. And don't forget that this is only the first in a series of 5 free panel discussions. The next event is going to take place on Thursday, the 26th of May at 7 p.m. and a further 3 discussions will take place over in the coming months, and they'll focus on the theme of supporting GAA clubs on and off the pitch. You can register for the events and find out more about social finance, how they can support your club at communityfinanceIreland.com. A massive thank you to Michael Kane, Sinead Reel and Phelim Sharvin for joining me this evening. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll be back again next Thursday. And thank you to all the attendees for joining in too. Good night.